And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:08 in the afternoon on this Wednesday, the last day of April. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And Bridgette, we're looking at a pretty decent day in parts of the area. Now, the far northern valley, where it's raining, or they're getting some light rain, temperatures in the low 50s. Yet we're in the upper 60s to near 70 from 94 corridor southward. So we got a little bonus sunshine out there this afternoon, warming things up in the FM area. But there's always a but. We will see more clouds as we are right now, and we'll eventually see some showers towards evening and a better chance as we head into the overnight. So Bridgette's on the road again. Where are we at today, Bridgette?
We are in Beulah, North Dakota. We are at the Beulah High School. There is a class here that focuses on ag communications. And what we're going to do today is have these students joining us, kind of like we did yesterday with our students from Northern Cass. And these ladies have prepared topics they want to talk about that have relationships to ag, a little bit of weather as well. And so we're going to bring them in as the show progresses. I've got 4 students here in the class with me, and we get the opportunity to interview them, and they get to be a part of Weather and Ag in Focus. It's kind of like having our own interns all in one space for today. So should be fairly exciting. By the way, it was raining on my way out here today, Dean. So it looks like maybe statewide we're getting just a little bit of sprinkles.
Yeah, a little bit. On radar right now, there's some light rain from Devil's Lake Basin up through about Grafton, and all that's moving northeastward. So expect that. There's a boundary out to the west of the valley, and that's producing these light showers. Raining right now. Oh, let's see, around the Carrington area. And again, this is starting to increase in coverage, and eventually we'll see these showers come closer to the FM area here as we head towards evening. And that will continue into the overnight hours as well, as we'll see scattered showers overnight. Areas from the FM area and southward could pick up about a quarter inch or so out of this. With lows dropping down into the mid-40s tonight. And then a lot of clouds around for your Thursday, at least for the first half of the day. I think we'll see partly sunny skies as we head towards evening. Winds out of the north 10 to 20, a few morning showers with highs in the upper 50s. And then partly cloudy and a little cool on Friday for this time of the year, mid to upper 50s. But then the weekend is going to feel spring-like with 70s, mid-70s on Saturday. It'll start to turn breezy, but then it turns downright windy for Sunday with highs around 80. And then starting off next week, we're looking at temperatures in the 70s with a chance for scattered showers and thunder showers Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday. So it doesn't look like a widespread rain event by any means on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but there will be a big storm system out in the Rockies, and we're on the warm side of that, so those southerly winds will be increasing and pumping in some moisture. And again, we'll just see hit and miss showers and storms early next week. But the weekend, this is the first weekend in a while where I can recall sunny skies both days. And again, the only problem is the wind, but we always have to deal with that. And we'll see, like I said, the windiest day on Sunday. But a great weekend to get out, maybe get everything ready for the summer. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be mowing their lawns or doing their gardens and stuff like that. So we'll see a couple of dry days in here, which also will help out our farmers as well.
Okay, so I think that one of the things we talked about is there is a urban legend that if you get rain on Easter Sunday, you'll have rain for 7 Sundays in a row. So far, you're telling me that will not be the case for us coming up this weekend, because we're going to get away with a couple of days of sunshine. You know, if it wouldn't rain next Monday, we might be able to plant our wheat, Dean, but we're just waiting. We're going to see what that's like.
If it does rain Monday, it's going to be hit and miss. So hopefully we can start that on Monday. That'd be nice. We'll see how it pans out, though.
Well, we're going to do our best, as always. Try to make things work when we can get in the field, just like any other farmer, right? As fast as we can. It'll be all right. I know it will.
Right. It always is. We always figure it out. But if you're not familiar with us, so we're doing a Weather and Ag in Focus Here We Grow project, and we've done it for the last few years. And this year is our first year we're going to be doing wheat. We've done soybeans, we've done corn. This year we're doing wheat, and again, we still have yet to get the crop planted. It's just been a little too wet, but like I said, hopefully here Friday, Saturday, Sunday we get 3 dry days. The wind should help dry things out over the weekend as well. So hopefully we're ready to go by next week.
Well, I think we'll get there. So, just like every other farmer, sometimes you have to wait, excuse me, just a little while. So, one of the things we have to wait on as well is when it comes to going to the field, making sure that if we have a weed problem, we're going to capture it and control it in the best way possible. One of those ways to do that is, remember, if you think you have pigweeds or kochia that look to be suspicious, maybe they didn't die last year the way you expected them to. And you might want to think about having them tested for resistance. You can do that through North Dakota State University. Right now, NDSU is finding, excuse me, that for the most part, samples that are coming in of kochia are group 14 resistant. We're also seeing more and more pigweeds that are doing that as well. We know that there's going to be other weeds that move in from various states that are probably going to cause us some problems over the winter months when they come in with other grains, if they move in with birds and wildlife. And so one of our concerns is that we could start to see maybe an Italian ryegrass like they have in Delaware that comes in and it's resistant to pyroxylin. We also know that Palmer amaranth has multiple modes of resistance, and because it's in the pigweed family, we can see some cross-contamination spread to more modes of action being resistant in those pigweeds. So keep an eye out in those fields if you're doing burn downs and something didn't die. If you start doing your pre-emergence and it didn't die and you're using the same modes of action, that tells me you probably have a concern when it comes to your kochia, maybe some of your pigweeds. So let's keep that in mind and try not to try not to use the same modes of action every time. We've got to rotate so that we can continue to do a better job of taking those weeds out of the way. Now, things that also are going on today is when we are out in the field, we see more and more folks that are using drones. One of the things I want to talk about, and we'll get into this a little bit later in the hour, is it's not so easy that you can just go buy a drone and start using it. We need everyone to make sure that with the drones, we are going ahead and getting the right licensing for the drone, but also for your pesticide applicator license. In North Dakota, you do have to have either a private or commercial when you're operating the drone. Part of that has to do with the certain products that you buy, but we're going to talk about the core competencies that you need to have, the licensing, like the Part 107 and 137 for drones. Again, if you're going to buy a drone to be doing pesticide applications, make sure you have your licensing in all areas. So, additionally, today, as we said, we're going to have students joining us throughout this hour out here in Beulah, and they're kind of like our assistant ag directors. You know, we've been doing that program since January, where we have had folks joining us on air as assistant ag director. We have had a multitude of kids joining us from a variety of places. If you have an interest or someone in your family does, you can go ahead and reach me, ag@flagfamily.com. I will make sure to share the application with you because we'd really love to have more kids joining us over the summer months. I'm looking for students who are between 15 and sophomore year of college, so they've got a little bit more experience with writing, communications, and so forth. I have an application for you to fill out. We'll find a day where you're not at work, you're not in class, and we'll make sure to bring you in. You get to talk about the headlines, you get to do the interviews that Dean and I do each day, and just spend time learning about what happens in the background with the communications that we do in radio and other areas of media as well. So don't forget to send those applications in. I don't want to miss somebody having the opportunity to be a part of this program. Well, there's much more to come. We'll be having a very busy day. And after we return from the markets from the American Ag Network, we'll start introducing our students and some of their topics. So, Dean, just like yesterday, we got a lot of things to cover and questions to ask. For folks who are listening, if they want to be a part of that, they can join us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, where today I get to be in Beulah, North Dakota. We get the opportunity to visit with students who are out here in an ag education class. So my first student that's joining us, Dean, is Clarissa. Clarissa, introduce yourself, please.
So I'm from Beulah High School. I'm in the Ag Community Development class that we have here, and that's how I stay active in FFA.
Very nice. So you're a senior,
Yep.
planning on doing something when you graduate? Not sure yet?
Yeah, hopefully.
That's okay, you'll get there. But maybe this discussion that we're going to have today sparks an interest of what you want to do down the road.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so tell us about what your topic is for today.
So I have, for my topic, it's basic vet care for dogs. So it's basically what we can do for the springtime for them.
Okay, so you're a dog owner?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what do you recommend that folks are supposed to start getting ready for?
Definitely need to start grooming more in the spring and tick season coming up.
What do you mean by grooming?
Bathing, brushing, nails, a bit of everything. We have, like, every essential you can think of. They're losing their winter coats.
So, okay, are these things that you can do? Do you have to take them somewhere? What do you recommend that homeowners do for their pets?
You can do them at home, most of them, or you can take them somewhere.
Okay.
Like grooming, that depends on personal preference, I'm sure.
Okay.
But brushing should be weekly is a good thing to start.
So, I always worry about ticks coming out for people who are outside because we can have folks that are working in the cattle industry. They easily pick them up in pastures while they're fencing, etc. But what about dogs, especially farm dogs? Should they be worried about ticks or fleas?
Yeah, ticks are definitely a big one here. So a lot of like precautions you can take would be tick collars or like a medicine that they take. My
Okay.
dog personally has a pill he takes every couple months.
So who has to remember to give the dog the pill?
Me.
How do you get him to take the pill?
Shove it in his food.
That's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're thinking about this summer months, you're getting them brushed off, maybe losing a little bit of that excess hair that they might have, etc. Does what you feed them change what happens for the year?
Yeah, their diets come in with their coats, but in the summer months you want to be more attentive to your dog's activity, and they can be eating more in the summer because they're being more active and more's happening
Okay,
than in the winter, obviously.
they're a little more active like you
Yeah.
are. So, all right, as a dog owner, what's the thing that you think is probably the most important thing you got to do for your dog as we get ready to go to the summer?
I'd say ticks.
Okay,
Ticks are definitely a hard one for us,
okay.
but I don't know, keeping them active is one of our biggest things too.
So we're going to divert just a little bit. We were talking before we got on air that the students here, Dean, have a pretty big project where they're literally kind of revamping a dog park.
Yes.
Can you tell us some of the things that you guys are doing here in Beulah as a school, a part of your FFA program?
So for our class, we do all sorts of things with our community, and this weekend we're doing a dog, like, adoption day meet and greet type of thing,
Okay.
and that's going alongside with our re-beautification of the dog park we have here.
So with that rebeautification, what are some of the projects you guys have been doing in class and outside of class to help the dog park?
We just built a ramp, and we're getting that put in today. We're adding some other things like a tunnel and some poles where,
Playthings for dogs?
yeah, to keep them going in there.
So, Dean, it's a meet and greet for dogs and cats. Do you just want me to bring home who looks the most needy so you can get new pets, or
Well,
what kind of preview do you want me?
no cats. Although I love cats, I'm just allergic to 90% of them. So,
I'll take a cat.
boy, and any dog. I'm a dog lover. Also, a trick that I used on my dog. You were talking about giving medication for flea and tick prevention, and if my dog wouldn't take it, because I did the same trick, put the food or put the pill in the food, and my dog got smart and just ate around it. But so then I would just take it and put it under her tongue and then rub the bottom of her throat, and 9 times out of 10 she would swallow it.
See?
Never heard that before.
New trick,
Yeah.
new trick to get him to take the pills. So here's the thing. All of the work that you guys do for other pet owners and help to do adoption, do you know how that adds to what you do for FFA? Do you get some grant funding to help do this type of thing?
Yes, we applied for 2 different grants, I think. Just one was called the Living to Serve grant, and one was just like a mini grant. And so we got to learn how to fill out grants, and that's how our funding came in.
Okay. So within this class so far, they've had to learn to write public service announcements, write grants, do beautification projects. What are a couple of the other things that you've been doing while you've been part of this class here in the Ag Department?
We've interviewed community members that are important
Okay.
in our town, and we've interviewed small businesses. What else have we done?
So, sounds like it's been kind of a full year.
Yeah, it's been busy. It's fun. It's a lot out of our comfort zone, but we get to do it, so it's fun to be there.
Out of the comfort zone, there was a lot of that nervousness before we got on camera, Dean. There was a number of, wait, how long are we going to talk? How many things do I have to answer? What if I don't know the answer? And Addison was listening in, and he was quick to remind him, don't worry, Dean and Bridgette aren't really experts either. So
No,
I thought he was pretty much spot on.
Not even close. She's done a great job. Obviously, she's going to be a good speaker.
See, you didn't expect that, did you?
No, definitely.
Okay. And so one of the things that's coming up as well, and you have an elementary ag day. Do you want to touch on that just a little bit? Who else is touching on elementary ag? Oh, we've got that coming up next. So
Yeah.
I don't want to burst the bubble for Anna, but you participated in that
Yeah.
before?
I did last year.
Okay.
It's definitely a fun event. It's really fun to see all the little kids and have all the animals there, but
All right, so Beulah High School is going to make sure that they spread the word of agriculture, and they're going to start with the elementary students. So when we return from the news, we're going to bring in Anna. She's going to talk about the elementary ag day. Other things we're going to talk about today are going to be bees. We're also going to talk more about farms and ranches. And then additionally, one of our students couldn't be here. She's at an event in Bismarck, but I do have her notes about egg prices. Maybe they got a little bit better. I heard somebody at breakfast this morning complaining about egg surcharges. So we'll get a chance to talk about eggs. All right, so we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. If you think that your farm could run a little bit more smoothly, particularly your internet, well, we've got a guy who can help you out, and that's Chris Sherman at Tech Support Farm. He's going to make sure that you are able to find a way to prevent hackers from getting into your email. He had a great conversation with Dean and I on Monday. Both of us realized we need better email addresses, passwords, and so much more, and you might too. Chris specializes in cybersecurity for farms and agribusinesses, so please check him out at techsupportfarm.com. So, student number 2 out here at Beulah High School is joining us. Anna, introduce yourself.
I'm Anna Kitzman. I'm a
Do you
senior.
have to speak much louder? I know you're nervous, but you're going to have to speak much louder.
I'm a senior here at Beulah High School,
Okay.
and I'm also an assistant officer for our Beulah FFA team. So
All right, so what's your assistant officer job?
just really anything.
You can kind of have to do a little bit of everything for people.
Yeah.
Does that include the fact that you had to help organize this elementary school day, field day, FFA Ag Day? Tell me about this.
It does.
Okay.
So this is our Elementary Ag Day poster, or a little bit about it. An Elementary Ag Day is an event that we just started last year, and we basically get grades kindergarten through 4th grade to come over to the hoop barns at our civic center, and we teach them all about different animals, grains, and I guess we got a tractor too, so
All right, seems like a pretty good idea.
yeah.
All right, so those elementary kids, how's this going to work? Everybody gets to walk over,
Yep.
right, because it's close by.
Yep.
What grades did you say are going to this?
Kindergarten through 4th grade.
And what do they get to do? Do they have to, is it like a petting zoo? What are they learning? What kind of stations do they have?
Well, we advise them to not really touch. You know, some of the animals could get freaked out. Last year, Paige and I actually, she's doing Why We Should Thank a Farmer. We were with the goats last year, and we got a bunch of different facts put together for each grade level,
Okay.
like whatever fact we thought would fit for their grade. And they'd walk around, we'd group them together, and they'd rotate after a certain amount of time, clockwise, counterclockwise, and they'd learn about goats, sheep, chickens, donkeys, horses, cows, calves. We have a farm dog, and then we got grains and a tractor as well.
Where do the animals come from? I mean, are you running around in the morning with a horse trailer picking them up to bring them to town, or how is this going to work out?
No, we have people from our school or
Okay.
volunteers bring them, like Paige, who's bringing the farm dog, and we got a bunch of kids who have all these farm animals that they're bringing.
So you did goats last year. That's what
Yep.
the station you were leading.
Yep.
What were some of the fun facts that you taught kids about goats?
Oh, geez. I remember one. It was that goats actually have like 360 vision.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So they can see a lot further than you expect.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever told you yet, but I have a sibling who's had goats with their sheep, and goats are jerks. They climb on things. They're sort of not the friendliest little guy to have, but I bet the ones you had were really cute.
They were. They
Okay.
were cute.
So second year, how many kids do you think get to go through your Ag Day? How big are those classes? Any idea?
Oh, I have no clue.
Okay.
No clue.
But it will stick with them,
Yep.
and they're going to learn a little bit more about ag.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to switch out Anna, and I'm going to have Cora join us. So they're going to just switch chairs on us here. Cora's going to come over to me, and she's going to sit right in this chair. And Cora has some things about bees that we want to talk about today. So, all right, Dean, do you remember when we talk about bees and honey and so forth in North Dakota? Where do we rank in production of honey?
I believe
Pop
we are.
quiz for the weather guy.
I believe we're number 1.
We're number 1. All right, Cora, lay it on us. What do we need to know about bees?
That they're very important for our environment, including like crops and other things like with pollination, and it's also one of our resources like with honey and whatnot.
Okay.
So
So we talked a little bit off air. Why do bees come to North Dakota so often? Why are we having so many hives up here?
I think it's because since we are not a very busy state, we're kind of rural and like flat land, so it's more open to have bees around in the area.
Yep.
And we also have cleaner air
Cleaner air.
compared to busier places.
What did we say about flavor that happens?
Depending on the bee and how they pollinate the crop, it can also lead to different flavors in honey. So
So if you'd like a sunflower tasting honey, canola, alfalfa, sweet clover, those are all flavors that you can find on the shelf. Okay, so you made a bunch of notes here. Tell us some of the
Yes,
other
I
things
did.
that you know about bees. Nice and loudly.
okay, well, one thing is like, so when bees are just insects in the winter,
Okay.
like they tend to like hibernate.
Hibernate. They're taking a
But-
nap.
Yes, and what I found out with my research is that bees actually don't necessarily hibernate,
Uh-huh.
but they just try to survive the winter all year round.
Okay.
So they basically just bundle up in the hive and try to protect the queen as much as they can.
Sure.
And another thing that we talked about earlier was that I didn't know is that they actually, transport them to California, as
Sure.
you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Which is,
Bees get to move around. They overwinter just like snowbirds that go to Arizona, right? The bees go
Yes.
on vacation. And we see that a lot with use in almonds.
oh, yeah.
Bees are well used in those orchards. Okay, so what else do we need to know about bees? Oh, by the way, have you ever raised bees? Have you ever had a hive?
No.
Okay. Do you
But-
want to have a hive?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but it does. We have some out in where I live because our neighbor grows some.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. So,
You like watching them?
yeah.
Do they come to the yard? Do you have a garden that they come into?
We don't have a garden, but they do come into our yard.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, so what else have we got?
And with beekeeping, sometimes there can be struggles like with pests and other diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So, climate change is also a big thing.
Okay.
So,
You may have heard that there's a little mite that can get into beehives.
Yes.
Do you remember the name of that mite?
Varroa?
I think it's called Verona.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Varroa.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And you're right, that's a little mite that gets in there, and he is the pestilence that will kill the bees. And nobody wants that.
No.
Okay.
But sometimes I found out also is like some bee planters like breed their bees so they can get almost like an autoimmune system to those pests or a stronger like.
I'm going to have to ask Dean if he remembers. We had a story this winter about the fact that there is a vaccine for bees
I
to
remember.
try to prevent some disease.
And I said, how do you give that vaccine to the bees? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking about the tiny needle size.
right,
You want to be
very.
the one to do that? Can you make that work, Cora? Coral?
Potentially, who knows?
Now, Bridget, I think it was a few years back. Wasn't there a bee shortage, I guess you could call it, across the United States? They were dying off for some reason. What happened with that?
So I'm going to ask Coral, do you have any notes on that?
No, I don't, but I do remember hearing about it when it was happening.
So there's something called colony collapse, and some of it's attributed to climate change. Some of it is attributed to potentially someone sprays a pesticide or an insecticide specifically close by to a beehive, and that can kill bees if it's because insecticides can be very specific in their modes of action. But if it's one that just wipes out all bugs, well, that's going to wipe out some bees. But colony collapse disorder has happened multiple times throughout the last couple of decades, and no one's really sure exactly what that is. Scientists have a lot of theories, but it's not all perfect. Dean says we have someone who's calling us with a question.
Yeah, we've got Oscar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've got
Well, Her
Oscar.
panic look got real high, Dean.
We've got Oscar on the line one here. Let me bring Oscar in. Oscar, welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. What's your question for us today?
Well, it's so fun listening to you guys. I haven't called in for a while, but your guest there. You know, there's two things with honeybees, and I've hauled thousands of them. One of the things bees don't like is perfume stuff. Okay, if you talk to a beekeeper, you don't use laundry detergents and stuff like that. You just got to use ivory soap. And they just do not like. Another thing with a bee, they can tell if you're scared of them, especially these, the honeybees. They can sense it. And like I said, if you're going to work around them, you got to have nothing that's perfumed, okay?
We can do that. All right, so there you go. Don't show fear around the bees, Carl.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Oscar. Appreciate
They'll
that.
get you back. Okay.
So I never knew
so
that.
We're going
If
to
you
switch chairs one more time, and Paige is going to join us. So we'll have Paige come over real quick. And we've got she also wants to talk about thanking farmers and ranchers. I want you guys to know that Teresa just sent me a text message. She's listening today. And Teresa Farms up in Northwest Minnesota, she wants you ladies to know you are doing a great job of helping bring in news and talk about ag today. Okay, so congratulations. All right, so Paige, introduce yourself nice and loud.
I'm Paige Seiler. I'm in the community development class at Beulah High School, and I'm also an assistant FFA officer.
Okay, and you're a senior.
Yes, I am.
All right, so you wanted to talk about thanking a farmer. How did you get this topic?
Well, I've lived on a farm and ranch my whole life. There's so many things that go unknown, like between everything that people just don't get, and I feel like they should be recognized or appreciated more for
what they're doing?
Yeah.
So tell us some of the things that you think are important for, like 50% of our audience listening today probably doesn't have a connection to farm. What should they know about farmers and ranchers?
everything. Like, I don't know what's
We gotta narrow
not
it down,
to know.
Paige.
Yeah.
Narrow it down.
I don't know, just all the late nights they go through, whether it's haying to feed their cows or trying to get the seed in and plant it all before time runs out, and working around the weather, whether it's raining or sunny or hot or dry and all of that.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you wind up doing when you're home on the farm?
Everything my dad tells me almost. I work a lot with the cows, so it's calving season right now, and we're getting down to the end of that. So whether it's helping chase pairs out to the pasture so we can get more cows to calve in peace, or anything feeding cows, opening gates, as simple as that, whatever helps out the most.
Are you in the field as well in the spring?
Not as much. That's more of like my dad and my brothers type of thing.
Okay.
But like if they need help, I'm always there to run errands, whether they need to switch to a different field, or some people like break down a lot, whether they need a ride or they need parts and I have to go to RDO. It's
That's
it's
what you're
everything.
doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, farm kid question. Have you ever had to help pull a calf?
I have lots
Okay.
of times.
All right. How did it go?
Mostly good. There's always those sad times where you're a little too late, which is always unfortunate, but
Does happen.
yeah. But
Do you guys have any twins this year?
we've had a couple. It's
Good.
been good. I like twins because I'm always the person who gets to take care of it and bottle feed it, or we grafted onto another cow and she lost her calf, and so
Okay.
she can still produce that milk and have a baby.
So you're keeping the herd moving,
We
especially
are.
right now. Livestock prices are high,
Yeah.
so you want to make sure to protect everything.
Yeah.
Any other notes that you have that we can talk about that were part of your assignment today?
Well, just to thank a farmer, there's like I said, there's everything, but there's also like a National Egg Day that goes through that
Yep.
just like recognizes everybody and what they do. And
Do you remember when National Egg Day was? Were you aware of
oh,
it?
shoot, I was aware of it. It was
Okay.
a couple months ago. I'm not like completely sure on the exact
Right
date.
around March 20th.
Yep.
So we had National Egg Day. And what are some of the things you'd suggest people do when you say thank a farmer? How could they do that?
Just appreciate, like, everything you do comes from a farmer. Like, if you think of a pizza, it's whether it's from the pepperonis on top to the dough on the bottom. Everything you eat and almost everything you wear comes from a farmer, and I think people don't recognize that as much as they should. And
Absolutely. You know, one thing to probably think about is simply the fact that we often say farmers feed the world, right? We grow the food. Well, we don't necessarily grow the food, because I don't remember driving by a pizza field very often.
yeah,
But we grow the ingredients.
yeah, you do.
And all of those have to get from this state somewhere else so they can wind up on your plate, even here at the school
Yeah.
for lunch. Dean's got a question. He's coming in to us. What do you got, Dean?
Well, my question is, if you had to pick out one thing, because, although we're a big farming community, there's a lot of, I'll call them city folk that, it's like, wow, I never knew that. If you had to pick out one thing that stood out, that people don't know about a farmer or a rancher, whether what they do, or what would you say is the biggest thing that stands out that the majority of people would have no idea?
Oh shoot.
Yep, you get to pick your favorite thing.
Oh,
What is
goodness.
it?
I don't know. I think it's more in the crop industry, because with cattle you always have, like, you feed them, you give them water, but there's fencing along with it, or with crops, you have to seed, you have to combine, you have to haul them even. And I don't think people really know all the process that goes into it with staying up till 4 a.m. in the field and trying to get all that, and even hauling it to an elevator. People don't realize that that takes a long time too, wherever you go.
Well, Dean and I learn about farming every year when we do Here We Grow. So, Dean, I don't know, maybe this is your year to drive the truck to the elevator to deliver our wheat. We'll find out, right?
As long as they have good insurance on the truck, sure.
So the girls today here at Beulah High School have been awesome with bringing their topics for us to talk about. We are going to take a short break. When we return, Dean's got a weather to recap. I've got a couple of headlines to go through and so much more. So stay tuned.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Temperatures outside very mild here in the Southern Valley with temperatures in the upper 60s, even a few low 70s from Wahpeton southward. And we've got a few showers to the west and northwest of the FM area. Areas out around Carrington up through, about Grafton. Line of showers moving northeastward. We're starting to see some development further south of that. So as the afternoon goes on and we get a little closer to evening, we're going to see some scattered showers in the FM area. After highs close to 70 today, we'll have a better chance of showers tonight, down to 45, about a quarter inch or so. And then Thursday, some morning showers will give way to mostly cloudy skies, becoming partly cloudy by late in the day. 50s both Thursday and Friday, and then we're in the 70s to near 80 over the weekend with pretty breezy conditions. And this weather is brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists. And it's going to be a mild weekend, Bridgette, so hopefully everybody can get out, maybe finish yard work, some of the farmers being able to get in their fields if we dry things out enough, and just a nice-looking spring weekend.
You know, this spring we didn't have to worry about any flooding, but if we had, one of those folks that's working closely with us would be Red River Retention Authority. They're a sponsor for our Here We Grow project, and they make sure that flooding, which has been a problem in the Red River Basin before, is no longer that big of a concern. They work with your local watersheds, also water resource districts in Minnesota, as well as North Dakota, and they're creating smart water retention projects on our behalf. Also, our friends at Gowan USA are sponsors for us this year, and they're bringing back some of those oldies but goodies that still work. You know, I talk about resistance often and how we have to change up our modes of action. One of the ways that you can do that is by using Sonalan in your rotation when it comes to soybeans, dry beans, sunflowers, and canola. And additionally, you could be thinking about Bargo. Bargo is an old name in grass control, but still works well. That's just it. Like you and I, Dean, some of those old things still work really well.
Depends which day.
So we had a student who was not able to be here with us today. She's actually at a award ceremony in Bismarck. And what Kristen had for a topic was talking about a legislation for lowering egg prices. And it's called the Lowering Egg Prices Act. And this was introduced by legislators from New York, Dusty Johnson out of South Dakota, and North Carolina. And it's a bipartisan bill that is aimed at reducing grocery store costs by overturning a federal regulation forcing farmers to discard about 400 million eggs annually. The reason is current regulations require eggs to be refrigerated within 36 hours of being laid, regardless of whether they're a table egg or a breaker egg, which get pasteurized used in processed foods like your cake mixes and so forth. So this bill wants to amend that requirement, and it will allow more eggs to enter the market rather than being wasted. And supporters point out that regulation has needlessly contributed to our very high egg prices and food waste. So this could make a difference. Over 6 billion eggs have been wasted, and we could be bringing those to not only school lunches, food banks, and a breakfast table near you or me. And personally speaking, they can put it on my breakfast table. I'm okay with more eggs at breakfast every day, right? That's not a problem.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yes.
Well, you want to thank everybody for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. A little rain on the way tonight. The Jay Thomas Show, that's coming up next.